Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. And congratulations from the Sweet Cheeks department of the Rise Up Morning Show to our friend Will Watson, who has surpassed 1 million likes. People really, really like him on social media, and you can too. Way to go, Will.
Thanks. It fulfills the hole in my soul.
Something we wouldn't know anything about, I'm sure. But if you want to like Will on social media, you can find him by searching coin_guide on TikTok. Or better yet, go to theriseuppmorningshow.com and find all of our social links so you can make sure that when you see our faces, you are watching the official channels of the official hosts of the Rise Up Morning Show. We got lots of impersonators out there, but these are our only profiles where you're watching this show. We will never reach out to you personally, directly, privately to try and sell you something, offer you free Bitcoin, or spread misinformation that is going to get you hosed. You got to watch out for that in the Web3 space, don't you? How you guys doing this weekend? This Monday, after this weekend? You know what I mean.
Well, I'm excited to not be hungover because it's been 48 to 50 hours of just being hungover because it's been a big drinking weekend. Mm-hmm. So like my mom called me. She's like, Will, how are you? I just went, as I just lay it on the couch, and I watched the half of the new Daredevil season on Disney, which is phenomenal. And then I got caught up on Andor as well, which is also good, except for the second episode. And then I got caught up on another show. So, I just rotted on my couch watching shows.
You watched your shows?
I watched my shows, and then one of our friends in our Discord downloaded some TA courses that he wasn't supposed to and gave it to me. So that was like, oh, thanks, man. Let me learn about this Moxie indicator you're talking about. So then I spent an hour and a half learning about some new TA tools. So I'm excited to eventually share those, but I still want to learn more.
Hey, man, learning is the name of the game. I love it when we get to do that. We last week went, Alex and I, on a show that our friend Solom connected us with called the Crypto Power Hour that does a lot of the same kind of thing that we get to do, but with a whole different audience. They're on a couple other social channels, and they are trying to help everyday people get in touch with good crypto information. Check it out and let us know if we were helpful or not, and if you think we should go back for a round two, what we should discuss. The show is the Crypto Power Hour. The most recent episode, I think, is called Crypto Beyond Currency. And you'll hear two guys you recognize, me and Alex, trying to do our best to explain what Web3 is, why it might matter to you, yes, you personally. And if you've got a crypto question for us, this is your place for it. We're live Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays for Rise Up After Dark. So big shout out to Lance, George, and all the folks at Crypto Power Hour for hosting us, and to Solom for hooking us up. I'm giving him a point. Alex, what about you? What'd you get up to this weekend?
I bought a dishwasher.
Wow.
Ooh.
That is so boring.
Yeah.
I thought that, Evan, but it has like a special little third tray in the very top for like your knives and spatulas and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly,
so
I said boring, but the like growing older man in my heart, when somebody buys an appliance, is just like, jealous and proud at the same time. It's weird.
I'm not there yet.
Not there yet.
You don't see a lawnmower and just feel it in your loins?
Well, I've been in a city for 10 years. So no.
Okay. Man, something about a spin cycle in a washing machine, or like a.
There's just something about a spin cycle that
a heat dry.
Evan, stop unbuttoning your pants.
Man, I'm telling you what. A little home improvement goes a long way. I'm proud for you, Alex.
Classic sweet cheeks.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions rolling in, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on today is something we occasionally revisit, but is surfacing on the internet, our version of the internet, crypto Twitter and crypto TikTok. As people are talking a lot about XRP and Ripple, I am seeing surfacing rumors of something called the dark pools. Have you guys ever heard this term before, dark pool?
Nope. No. It's new to me.
Okay. Well, dark pool is the particular name that people in the XRP community tend to give private pools, or pools that the public can't access that are closed, like on the test net or like dedicated networks. What's so funny over there? Did somebody?
I'm just chuckling because no, it was my brain being like, "Have you guys ever heard of dark pool?" My brain immediately goes, "Ah, yes, Black Deadpool." I was like,
ah, yes.
Dark pool. It just seems like Marvel put out like a new Avenger or whatever, and it just like didn't do well, so it didn't go past like one comic strip, you know?
Yeah. There's dark pool.
Sorry, I've had
medium pool.
Me and a lot of my friends are just sharing Black Pope memes.
High yellow
we really
pool.
hope the guy from Ghana becomes Pope, and we're just like, yeah, Black Pope, and it's just memes of Blade, Wesley Snipes' Blade, just like with a Pope hat. And sorry, it's been top of mind for like 5 days.
Listen, man, that could be the shout out that Catholics of another color need. I'm here to say it's supposed to be an inclusive movement, apparently, the Deadpool movement. Not what a dark pool is, though. Good guess. So specifically here, dark pool, it refers to assets that are traded privately outside of public exchanges where normal buyers and sellers operate. This is like OTC trades, okay? Instead of placing a big order on a public exchange where it would be visible and potentially could move the price up or down, you're going to do it in private if you're an institution, if you're a big trader. Hidden markets called dark pools. So when people say that there's dark pool liquidity, that's usually what they're saying. They're usually saying XRP is doing all this stuff in dark pools. There is a lot of movement, Ripple's conducting a lot of it, or big financial institutions or banks or private players. They're allegedly buying and selling and moving huge amounts of XRP in private deals that are not visible to retail investors that could potentially affect the public price someday, but like OTC trades, for whatever reason, they aren't directly visible yet. And the most common sort of speculation I see is that banks are secretly accumulating XRP in dark pools because they plan to use it for some sort of future payment system. But there is no public proof that massive dark pool accumulation of XRP is happening at any meaningful scale. And I want people to know, if they don't, that dark pools exist for many assets, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're also used for traditional stocks so that big trades don't affect the market. And often what I see is that this is thrown around in discussions big is happening behind this without hard evidence. So now that you know it, do you have any thoughts? Or I would like to maybe give just a couple of helpful questions for people to ask who are wrestling with new concepts like this one as they try to figure out what's fact and what's fiction. Fine place to take it.
Yeah,
I'll let Alex take that one first, because I don't know what other thoughts I have on it other than, okay, like if there are dark pools for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it makes sense to do the same for XRP if it's really just a solution to try to make sure that big transactions get fulfilled, because there are very large transactions for XRP.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's all like, in theory, all of this is on chain, right? If you look at an OTC trade, right, it's true that these are not open market trades, meaning they're not buying spot on the open market. They're not logging into their Coinbase account and buying $1 billion worth in one shot. So it gets, accumulated from all over the place. Seems like it's a combination of nothing new and exactly what you would expect to be happening. And that's kind of just how OTC works. So to me, this feels like another opportunity to slap another conspiracy theory into the XRP ecosystem, because
XRP loves that.
Because that's what the whole thing is.
It really is the whole thing. It's like the fuel that keeps the locomotive of XRP's price going up, moving.
Yeah.
It's just conspiracy theory. And it's like, oh gosh, what's the name of that altcoin that's based in Japan? And they're like, it's the Bitcoin of Japan.
Jasmy.
I feel like it's just like Jasmy, but on steroids. Except Jasmy has even far less of a claim to doing the things they say they're going to do. At least XRP, like with Ripple, like there's like some meat. There's some meat there. There is
some meat there, but one of the things Apple Fed, our friend, brought up this question that is always good to touch on when we talk about XRP, because this is a nuanced discussion, and I will fully admit that for the three of us, this is not probably the place we spend most of our time in crypto, which is to say we're very familiar with Ripple, with the XRP ledger, with XRP as a token, but we don't hang out in a lot of the circles where people talk about it all the time every day and give updates and things like that. I'm always looking for good information about this, but what I consistently find is that a lot of information that circulates on the internet is not substantiated by evidence. So the question Apple posed was genuine question from someone who was bullish on XRP and sold it all in the latest pump. Why are people, banks, and institutions going to transact in the volatile XRP token for short-term trades and not the stablecoin that Ripple is or has released? Because while they've released RLUSD, anybody can release any kind of token on their ledger, which has been used for CBDC test programs and things like that. Will, this is something you've spoken to before. Can you help people understand why a bank would prefer to use an asset other than XRP to facilitate settlement?
Yeah, sure. So to provide a little bit of validity to this, so I've worked with financial institutions. I worked with Morgan Stanley, worked with the Toronto Stock Exchange. I worked with a bunch of other smaller investment firms and banks as well, from like a technicals AI standpoint. So, but I just say that to say I'm familiar with how banks operate and all that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of the things that how banks get penalized. And also I have access to Google. You can Google this too. So if you're a bank, and let's say you have, I'm just going to pick a whole number, $1 million that you need to send to person or bank A, right? Unless you say they're in another country, whatever, right? So they're going to send a payment, $1 million. In the Ripple solution, you take the currency that's trying to be sent, it gets flipped into XRP in the Ripple solution. That then gets flipped in it's like a second and a half. It's pretty quick. It might be even a little bit faster than that. It's right around a second. Into the native currency for where it is trying to go, right? If it's cross-border payments, right? So if in that second or 3/4 of a second, XRP's price drops a tiny bit, then your $1 million payment is a tiny little bit less, right? And that might not seem like a big deal. You know, the bank could just send a little bit more money or whatever, but banks do tons of transactions. It's going to be really hard to make sure you're filling all those little tiny gaps, which puts a very, very large risk on the bank. And that risk is them being penalized with a fine for not having a full payment be sent across at a due date. So that's the risk. And banks don't like risk at all. It's like their whole business. And so that's why that fiat to XRP to fiat model within the Ripple solution today doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's why people like myself speculate that just take XRP out of that and replace it with the stablecoin that the Ripple ledger has made. And now you have that system works. But now you have the natural adoption of Ripple's solution as a cross-border payment for financial institutions no longer being a driver of demand for the XRP token, if that were to happen.
Yeah. I think it is likely, like you say, that most banks are going to prefer stablecoins, a CBDC, and a lot of them are going to want to make their own because they want to own that transaction.
And you've seen that happen already. I mean, you saw 4 or 5 different U.S. crypto-based companies all apply to be get a U.S. banking license. And what that'll do, that includes Coinbase, that includes BitGo,
Circle?
that includes Circle. It includes 2 other ones. I forget their name.
I would expect to see Robinhood be in there, some others maybe.
Yeah, so that'll enable someone like Coinbase to do, or it enables them to make their own stablecoin. Circle already has their own stablecoin, but now they can offer savings accounts. They can offer banking. Circle and even Coinbase could offer mortgages. You can now, through those companies, take loans against your Bitcoin and also, get money that way without selling your Bitcoin and incurring that tax as well. Like there's a whole bunch of every service that a bank offers, these organizations will be able to then offer.
Yeah. And bringing it back to dark pools, even if there are banks using XRP's ledger, companies, countries using XRP's ledger to test this kind of stuff, I think it's really important to understand that if XRP, a lot of people I see in the XRP community talk about a lot of things happening that will increase ultimately the price of XRP. But I think you got to be able to separate hope from verifiable signals. And I think there are a couple of important questions that you need to ask yourself, especially because XRP holders specifically are targets of misinformation. I'm not sure why it has happened this way, but it has happened that a lot of everyday people are attracted to this token, usually through the promise of like financial freedom. And a lot of them are not as chain literate, I would say, not as likely to have invested in other stuff. They've felt left behind. And so they're looking for a leg up. They're honest, hardworking, often, blue collar people who are unfortunately targeted by people who want to separate them from their money. So here are some questions you can ask whenever you're confronted with any kind of claim. The first one is, who benefits if I believe this? If a YouTuber, an influencer makes money from clicks, from your attention, from XRP pumps, their incentives might be misaligned from yours, okay? Number two, can I verify this claim independently from a primary source? Real partnerships, real volume, real adoption can be verified on websites, on press releases, blockchain explorers. If the settlement doesn't happen on chain, we say, then it didn't happen. Does this require future events to happen perfectly? Some people say, well, Japan is going to be testing Ripple's network. And if they do it, then every bank in Japan is going to do it. And then every bank or institution is going to use it. If the argument depends on X happening and Y happening and Z happening, that's speculation. That's not investment grade information like Michael Saylor just bought 1 million Bitcoin. That's something that happened that you can verify. This is a claim that requires future events to happen perfectly. And then I'd also ask yourself too, does this account for the supply? The competition? What are other people doing like Tether, like JP Morgan, like Deutsche Bank using Ethereum? And would this be true if no one talked about it? That's the last question. Real adoption is going to show up in metrics, not just in hype cycles on forums on the internet. So dark pools, absolutely they exist. And there are a lot of factors that could contribute to an increase in XRP's price, which we've talked about on the show before, but you don't need to be worried about money moving around in dark pools behind your back. If it's not on chain, it didn't happen. Alex, do you have anything to add before we put this to bed?
No, honestly, it's no.
Fair.
Oh, we lost Will.
Oh no, Will.
I'm back.
There he is.
Sorry.
I was
Okay.
It's like, wait, is it me?
Is it me? Oh, sorry. I was muted so people didn't hear my clickety clackety clacks as I looked
Gotcha.
a few things up to be able to share with folks.
Oh, please. I love it.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, this is about, we're talking about XRP and, you're always talking about institutional adoption. When or if is it going to happen? Yada, yada, yada. Actual institutional adoption came through with Immutable X, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, organization working on Web3 gaming adoption, as well as Helium, a decentralized infrastructure play, working on basically telecoms and providing like Wi-Fi network for people in a decentralized way. So two really big adoption stories. Immutable X, we'll start there because we love Web3 gaming, but Immutable X is announced that they're releasing their game that they've been working with on for 2.5 years with Ubisoft, one of the largest game producers out there. They make Assassin's Creed, they make Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six, they make
little titles.
Couple little titles. They made For Honor. They have 136, I think, million players every year.
Is that how you say that? Ubisoft?
Ubisoft, yeah.
I was like Ubi?
Ubisoft. You can say
okay.
Ubisoft. It doesn't matter. Americans say Ubisoft, but it's Ubisoft. Because I'm cultured. So anyway, but yeah. So the game that's coming out, it's Magic Kingdom or Magic. I forget the name, but it's a card
and
game.
Magic Fates.
Nope.
Oh,
wait.
Might and Magic franchise.
Fates. Yep, that was it. Never mind.
Yep.
Might and Magic. So it's a digital card game. So think like Hearthstone. If you're familiar with Web3 gaming, think. Oh my God, how am I forgetting it? Alex, help me.
Gods Unchained.
Thank you. Gods Unchained, which is the most popular Web3 game that's been out for a very long period of time.
Years.
Yeah, it's been out for years, and it's
Good
been very
game.
popular. It's a good game.
Recommended.
Yeah, it is a good game. So there's space for it, but it's really big news because this is the first AAA gaming studio to release a game, and all the other AAA gaming studios will be looking at this to see how well this does. And if it does well, if it makes money, you're going to see all the other AAA gaming studios just go like, all right, bet, baby. And you're going to see all of them start experimenting with it. So this is huge because Web3 gaming, as we've talked about in the past, is the use case that will get the most average day people on chain without knowing about it. And that's the beautiful thing about Immutable X. I've loved Immutable X for years. I still love them. I might not own the token at the moment, but I love what they do. And the trailer for the game looks pretty sick, as Evan is showing
I've
on
got a little,
the big live.
Little screen share going on here with some killer looking graphics. Woo, look at that guy. If you're listening to the podcast, he's got glowing green eyes, a 6 skull head, a wicked wizard staff. Check it out. This is a tweet from Immutable X 5 days ago announcing the partnership. Their profile is at Immutable with 2 M's and 1 U.
And to put this into context, the most popular trading card game on chain, Gods Unchained, has 5,000 daily players with 168,000 players registered. But people register and they don't actually play, right? Especially as years go by. But it has 5,000 daily active users. Ubisoft has 130 to 140 million people who play their games in the world. This is cool. This is something to like really watch, and I'm excited about it. So I love that. And then there was the other story about Helium. Oh, and also Immutable X, Ethereum. Guys, that's the Ethereum ecosystem. Helium, Solana ecosystem. So Helium has finally, and this has been rumored for years, they have finally been integrated into AT&T. So AT&T users like myself will automatically in our service potentially be using Helium. Now, the reason why AT&T did this is because they can roll out their 5G offering more easily. It lowers their total cost of ownership because they don't have to put up a whole bunch of routers and 5G towers and stuff, and they can take advantage of Helium. And then the people who use Helium to help set up these Wi-Fi networks in a decentralized way, they are going to have more users on their network and stuff. And if you're setting up a hotspot, potentially you make more money as you get rewarded for it. But it's cool. So people who have AT&T, without you knowing, you may be using Helium, no matter where you are. And the other thing too is AT&T quality service will be shared across Helium to make sure that the service of the quality of service you're getting is just as good as what you were getting from just traditional AT&T infrastructure. That's
pretty cool.
It's actual adoption and not just, hey, what if XRP did this? What if Ripple did that? This is like, no, this is here. This is in front of you. The slice of pie is in front of you. Would you like to take a bite, or would you like to wait for the pie that might never be made? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm throwing some shade at XRP, but I do like it as a potential investment from a speculative standpoint. I think it's great to trade and all that kind of stuff. I just want to see them do the stuff that people say that they're going to do. And we have organizations doing the stuff that they say they're going to do, and it doesn't get the headlines, right? So that's just why I wanted to bring attention to it.
Yeah, well said. I think there's a big difference between pie in the sky and proof in the pudding.
Yeah, and this stuff is cool. And it's not just DeFi, It's not just stable coins and payments. It's like actual super cool Web3 use cases that are like getting normal day people on chain without knowing it. And like the audience size for that is massive. And I get super pumped about projects who can get adoption amongst their targeted audience, but in a way that finally breaks out of this Web3 circle jerk we've been in for years.
Yeah.
Actually get to real world people and help them. That's cool.
Tori says, I like the free plan on Helium, and I was thinking of setting up my kid on Helium. If you do that, or if you are somebody who uses Helium right now, let us know what you think about this, what you felt about their service before, and definitely, congratulations, Helium. Congratulations, AT&T. Proof in the pudding is good. What did Alex's shirt say? Alex and I were working on a shirt for Consensus. We were talking about this idea of like how crypto Twitter and talking to each other, all, 2,000 of us who work here, is like not how you're going to bring on the next billion users. So to see that kind of a partnership, that's frankly huge. It's difficult
cool.
to overestimate.
It's so motivating too, because it's like, oh wait, there's actually good stuff in this space. It's just like I feel lighter. My soul feels lighter after being weighed down with so many rug pulls, just so many scams and people getting their money stolen from them. And being like, no wait, there's good in this space. I need to be reminded every now and again. Oh.
If you don't know you're using Helium, that brings no value to Helium. That's an interesting point.
That's
I don't
totally
know that
wrong.
I would agree with that.
I would totally disagree with that.
Yeah.
It's the best
disagree.
thing. Yeah, it's you don't want to know. You don't want to know you're using a blockchain to use a blockchain. Otherwise, if you know you're using the blockchain, it's because it's a worse or different experience than what you're used to, which means you're not going to adopt all the people, right? Like, who cares if you know you're using Helium? What matters is that the network is getting adopted. That is something that I think, and I'm sorry to pick on you right here, but that I think you need to rewire your brain here. Actually, I know I will backtrack. I think you have the correct mindset for a short-term trader, right? Because if people know that they're using Helium, people talk about it more, and it's good for short-term speculation, but it's not good for long-term adoption. Because long-term adoption, you just want that adoption curve to just keep going this way, just steadily, right? Up and to the right. That's what you want. You don't, and the best way to have that happen is to have people not know they're using Helium or not know they're using Immutable X, right? Just get that adoption rolling. And that's best for long-term price appreciation. But from like a short-term trading standpoint, if that's your mindset, then, you want people being like, oh, Helium, oh, Immutable X, right? So I think that's just a different mindset.
Yeah, something interesting to think about, especially for like layer ones or other types of infrastructure plays, is they accumulate value through usage, through transaction fees. That's where the tokens get traded. That's where fees get earned. That's where all of this growth really happens. The more something at that level is shared, is used, the more valuable it becomes. But no doubt about it, if your name's in everybody's mouth, then you got those pump-a-mentals, baby. Got to pump it up.
But hey, if that a fundamental adoption goes up, you want to know what happens? The right people start talking about you.
I think
exactly.
You hit it though. Well, it's the difference between looking at it as a day trader who's trading on hype cycles and someone who is trying to like invest in something that's going to be here in 5 years versus something that's going to flame out in 6 months and no one will remember its name next year. Yeah, because think about how many different pieces of technology exist behind the scenes that are obscenely valuable that you use all the time and you rarely think about. Like, just anything that's cloud storage infrastructure, GPS networks, near field communication technology in all of the stuff that you're scanning all the time. Like, it's all you're thinking about is scan the card, make the payment. You're not thinking about like which manufacturer made the NFC tag that's in the card that you're swiping or whatever. The whole point of all this kind of stuff is that, take the video game thing. So that's a super cool announcement because the game is really big and it could bring some more usage to a network, and you want to see the network get used. Right now, these things rarely have very many regular users. There's not really that many. So that's what you're working on, right? But no one is playing, a current non-Web3 enabled game and thinking to themselves like, man, I wonder which database infrastructure they're using to store player data on the back end. I wonder if it's in Firebase or something else or, whatever. No one's thinking that. And if you are, all right. But that's really not the point. The point with a lot of this kind of stuff is, if what makes it truly valuable is more people having it in their hands and using it for whatever it was intended to be used for, then whenever that happens, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Dinging it. We had a good question here that I want to highlight quickly by way of transition because, Alex, I know you had a little artificial intelligence tidbit for us, so
yes.
Get your stuff ready.
Okay.
Let's answer this question, and then I'll segue you.
Dog that's bothering me, and I'll be back with the tidbit.
No fret. The question is, how can I find out which coins or tokens fit inside which wallets? And the answer, my friend, is simple. And first, let's back this question up to say one of the most common questions we get on the Rise Up Morning Show and in our community or in our comments section is, what's the best wallet to use for cryptocurrency? I just want you to know that you got a lot of options. Will, you use a ledger, right?
I do.
And you use which hot wallets, the software wallets and apps? Like, name a couple. Because
It depends on what chain I really want to be focused on, but a lot of wallets are multi-chain now. So I mean, I mostly use the Coinbase wallet because I like to use Base, and I also use Phantom because I like to use Solana, and that's the two ecosystems where I spend most of my time. On Phantom, though, you can use a lot of different chains and the user experience is nice, but that's it. I use those two. I have a MetaMask wallet also that I've had for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now at this point, but I don't like to use it too often because the user interface, I don't know who's in charge of MetaMask's user interface, who's like, oh yeah, I made this thing 5 years ago and it can't possibly get any better than that, because it's really not good. But those are the wallets I use.
Yeah, and more all the time. If you want to get a new cryptocurrency, you might be on the abstract chain, so you got to get a wallet for that. If you were a Cardano holder back in the day, you had to get a dataless wallet. So it is not necessarily a cause for concern, even though it is a frictionful thing to have to use new wallets on the time because you're on chain. You're at the new frontier. But if you are using a wallet, that's the first question you should ask is, does this wallet support the coins or tokens I want to hold? Especially if you're getting a cold storage wallet for the first time. People really want to know which one's the best, but that's the first part of the answer. The best one is going to be the one that supports the tokens you want to use. So how do you find out? Google and GPT are your friend here. Then don't trust verify. As you can see from the screen share, I just did a simple Google search for, does Trezor support XRP? Because maybe you've been hearing Alex on the show say, I love Trezor, I use it all the time, and you just want to know, I hold XRP, will it work? And according to Google, Trezor hardware wallets support XRP. The Trezor Safe 3 and Trezor Safe 5 in particular provide native support for XRP within the Trezor Suite application. But then I'd also want to go to the official Trezor website, and almost every wallet is going to have a tab for supported coins. If you click this, check this out. It'll show you which networks or tokens a token is supported on. It says here, Bitcoin, BTC is supported on 3 different networks. You can click in to see what those are. Tether's supported on 10 networks. XRP is supported on 1 network, and they're going to have documents for any extra steps that you're going to need to take to get that token in your wallet. If it needs to be on a different network, they'll let you know how to get it there. So that's question number 1. And question number 2 that you need to answer when you are exploring cold wallets or hardware wallets is, which wallet is going to be easiest for me to use consistently? Okay, and that's just a matter of going to YouTube, looking up a couple tutorials and seeing how they physically work. The ledgers that Will and I use, the Trezor that Alex uses, they've got kind of small screens, so the devices themselves, they might be tough to interact with if you're a big hands person or you've got tremors in your hands. But there are other wallet solutions that, with a quick Google, with a little YouTubing, you can see, will this work for me? Does it seem easy? That's the name of the game, and you can grow from there. But guys, have you got any other important tips that people should follow when they're thinking about which coins fit in their wallets? Can a wallet hold an unlimited amount of tokens? That's another question I get,
That's a good one.
What's the answer to that, Alex? I've got 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 Bitcoin. Will they all fit in one hardware wallet?
If you have 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 Bitcoin, I have some other questions for you.
Yeah. Me too.
Satoshi? Yeah.
Yes, in the practical sense, there is no hard cap on what you can store in a wallet. And if you're looking at a wallet that has one, look at a different wallet.
Yeah.
I will say also, keep an eye out for how big the storage is on your wallet, like software-wise, because I have had to get, I have 2 Ledger Nanos because the software to download onto them for like different coins, for like Bitcoin, for Ethereum, I had XRP for a little bit. I have XRP software on my hardware wallet. And then I had to get another one for like other stuff as well and other altcoins that I was holding there. So just keep your eyes open for that. I had to buy 2, but these are the hardware wallets I have are from like 5 or 6 years ago. So I imagine there's more storage on them, but it was something I had to be mindful of. And I was like, crap, I have to buy another hardware wallet to be able to get the software to have the blah, 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 right? So just keep your eyes open for that. It might be a need. It might not now. The market's probably moved ahead of where I got my wallets.
A little bit, yeah. And not every one of them functions the same way, like with the Ledger platform where you have to download separate apps for different things. Like Trezor doesn't have that. It just has its list of supported, and the preloaded software supports whatever it's preloaded, which is, nice in the sense of the storage question, but also, and to actually, I mean, recently it's been getting a hell of a lot better, but
Dude.
He doesn't like your Trezor wallet, bro.
Hates your Trezor wallet.
Ledger Maxi over there.
Ledger all the way. Is that Arlo?
Yes.
Yes.
Sweet Arlo.
Sorry. For anyone curious, one of my neighbors just had the unmitigated audacity to back out of their own driveway. And thanks to Arlo's diligent, watchful eye,
they ran away.
We're all now aware that my neighbor's going to work.
Come for him.
Oh. Good job, dude. Earned your breakfast.
Another point we should touch on as far as data goes is just to remember the data on your hardware or cold storage wallet, that is limited, and it has more to do with the apps that support your tokens than it has to do with your tokens. Your tokens never live on your hardware wallet. What lives there is your private key, or like a piece of software that can support interacting with a particular blockchain network. Go ahead.
I was going to say the easiest way to say it is they are not physically there.
Yeah.
The thing that's there is the proof that they're yours.
That's exactly right. It is your unique identifier that the blockchain uses to assign assets to you. The only place that your assets on chain live is in a record, a decentralized record, a ledger of transactions maintained by all the computers that secure the network. The 60,000 Bitcoin nodes that agree on who sent what to whom. That's where your tokens live. Evan, but it would say private key 1234556, sent Alex private key 78910, 10 Bitcoin. And it used to belong to him. Now it belongs to him. That's where your Bitcoin lives. It doesn't physically exist anywhere. It's not on your wallet. It's not in your wallet. You can't move it except to reassign ownership of it. So, good questions. Alex, are you ready to talk a little
This is artificial insanity.
little artificial insanity?
Let's do it.
Hit me.
Okay, so I am constantly trying to experiment with all of these different, there's so many of these tools now that I'm just, it's a struggle to try to stay up to date with all of them. And one of them that I have heard a lot of good things about, but never actually sat down and used, was Perplexity. And so usually the way that I open a conversation with one of these LLMs that I have not used before is just to tell it what I normally do and then which one I normally use, and then have it describe to me what the differences are. And Perplexity gave a really interesting answer, which I think is actually, let me see if I can grab it from here. Interesting is a strong word. Essentially, it was just kind of describing the differences between ChatGPT, which is what I usually use, and it. And its answer was very simple. It was just, if you're looking to do like creative input, like back and forth kind of thing, you would want to use GPT for it. If you're doing like framework or system building, you would probably want to use GPT for it. But if you were looking to do better research using AI to speed it up, then you would want to use Perplexity. And the reason, and GPT is starting to add this, but I've noticed that it's not quite as good. I was kind of running some comparisons last night. If you ask a question to Perplexity, so for example, I've switched over my like crypto research thread to a Perplexity thread instead of GPT because the sourcing is way better. So for example, Actually, let me see if I can share the window.
I was going to say, can you share your screen? We'll describe it for the folks who are on the podcast. This is your reminder, first of all, that we love you and we hope wherever you are, your candles are green. But also, if you want to see the screen share, you can check out all the recordings of the Rise Up Morning Show and Rise Up After Dark on YouTube in the appropriately named playlist. Alex is, in fact, sharing his screen so that you can see what we're talking about here. Go ahead.
I was going to say it took away the studio screen. So, okay, so you can see it. All right, sweet. So, for example, and it's lightning fast. I mean, what are the things we were talking about here? Okay, so we talked about immutable.
He's typing, give me an overview of Immutable X and their token IMX.
And now so here we have tons of sources all linked out here. And I just enjoy the way that this was framed. So now for the record, I haven't given this don't worry about reading it. I haven't given this any of the usual like building blocks that I would, where I'm talking about like, okay, let's reduce the technical jargon by X%, give me more analogies, give me the overview formatted like this, whatever. None of that. This was just like zero context, just a prompt for that. But it gave me quite a bit. I like the way that it laid it out. I actually did one earlier too, and it auto populated the price chart for me. Let me see.
And this is a GPT-esque overview, but what I like about it is it seems even a little more structured, like a good 5-paragraph essay. And I love the way that they put the citations at the end of each sort of paragraph there.
Which GPT is doing, but I've noticed that GPT will sometimes reference sources that I would not necessarily call like hyper credible.
Yeah.
Like it will reference something from social media versus the article that the post was about, just because it was like it came up harder, it came up better. I don't know. It was more popular in the search results just because, I don't know, the post was really viral or something. But I also really like just the visual representation here. If I ask for, current status of IMX, it gives me a price chart, which I can interact with. Like it's a totally
that is nice
clickable little widget, which is really cool. And then, here are the bullet points on it, and then a written summary of recent performance. So I think for sure that my advice at this point would be to use this one over GPT, just based on my first 24 hours with it here, because this is not an option on ChatGPT. I've not been able to get something like this. It will link me to the TradingView page or to something like that, but so if you're just hopping in, this is Perplexity, which does have a mobile app and a desktop.
Who makes Perplexity?
That's a great question.
Would you like to ask Perplexity? Who made
It's like, don't use my bandwidth for this, simpleton.
Perplexity AI Incorporated is the name of the company.
Okay. Surprised it wasn't one of the big boys.
Founded in 2022, in August 2022. Interesting. There you go.
Cool. Well, hey, good to have
this is
small competitor. Although I say small, and they're probably a gigantic organization.
Meant to be in February of 2023 was this piece of data from, had a couple million users. I would imagine that it's significantly bigger since then. I know that my dad said that he liked Perplexity for coding, but this was a little while ago. And since then, GPT 01, the PhD like replica model, was that 01? That one was also doing a good job. And then I know he uses something else, the name of which is escaping me.
And I hear a lot of people on Twitter say Claude and Copilot are their favorites for coding right now.
Yeah, I've heard Claude. I know that Charlie uses Grok for coding a lot. But I think too that a lot of those really depend on the nature of the input and the person using it. Like, I sent an article to our group chat yesterday, Evan. I'm not sure if you saw it. That was meant for Mac, but just about. Let's see, where is it?
Checking about the Situation Room.
It was an open AI announcement for this this new agent, ASWE agent, which was agentic software engineer. So it's an AI agent specifically trained to be a software engineer. That's essentially just a full stack developer taking on software tasks from start to finish with minimal human help. So the next evolution of coding assistance. And I'm curious about this one because one of the things that we've noticed with coding AI assistance is just that, like, if you are not a developer and you don't understand the code that it's giving you, you obviously can't tell if it's good or not. And often it's very buggy. And so you can tell it to, like, okay, go debug this or whatever. But really what you need is that kind of back and forth relationship. So like an engineer could use AI to just, that's what my dad is doing. He uses it to increase his output just exponentially, the speed with which he can get large blocks of stuff done, especially when he has, you know, better prompts and stuff like that, then it would be far and away different from what I would be able to do with any of it.
Sure.
But anyway, I just wanted to highlight this for you guys as you're using AI to speed up or help enhance your crypto research, that as of right now, and I'm going to keep doing some experiments with it. I'd like to do a couple more comparisons and stuff, but I was blown away. I mean, let's see if I can pull up the history that I had here. That's the only other thing I don't like. And this is just the free version too, by the way. You can pay for it, but there is a free version. I'd have to poke around. I'm not sure exactly where oh, here we go. Library. Okay. No, it's not on this model because it's free. I had one for the dark pool thing. So I was just like, talk to me about dark pools with regards to Ripple and XRP. And it gave me a huge write-up that was all of the different, like, here is what it is. Here's what people mean by it. Here are the controversies. Here's the social media chatter about it. Here's why it probably doesn't matter that much. Here's why it might matter more. Here's this scenario, whatever. It was like very well structured. So there you go. AI tidbit for the day.
Dang. Okay. And what about, we talked about the other day in office hours. This is a sort of an inside preview. In office hours, we had Apple, we had Carol, and we had a couple of other folks talking about Manus. I think it's Manus AI. This is another one that we heard about from Mac Lorden. Mm-hmm. And I got on the beta version for it, but I have to say I have not used it yet. I've read several guides. It looks like this is sort of a niche that several AI companies are trying to fill, which is like, if GPT is more general purpose, this aims to be your research and deep thinking assistant. And Manus specifically is asking, give me a task. And it will organize around providing certain deliverables for that task. You can do this with GPT. You know, we use it for our business all the time. But I'm struggling personally to think about what kind of tasks I might give an LLM who is not yet autonomous, who cannot yet book that flight for me or buy those flowers for me, to do that I wouldn't just ask GPT to do anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of struggle with that. I feel like GPT already knows me. And I think that's my limitation more than the AI's limitation, because I see a lot of people talking about Perplexity or Manus and saying, wow, it's so good. It blew me away. Saved me time. So it's admittedly an area where I got to do more research too. But I would add Manus to the list under Perplexity of stuff to check out. And if that's you, user, if you're somebody who's using tools like this, building tools like this, I know we've had a couple of conversations with people who've done some really cool vibe coding work, with people who have done really cool construction, or who are advocating for better policy. Our friend Tiffany Cianci over at the Open Source AI Foundation, and I know we're going to get to have a couple of their folks on to talk about the work that they're doing to advocate for privacy, security, freedom, autonomy, and all those other things that we love.
I know once we were talking about Manus too, just to highlight a couple comments, I've seen this pop up, just thinking about privacy and the information that you're giving to this stuff. I would definitely be mindful of it. And I know that one of our friends who works for an extremely large consulting company, they are not allowed to use Manus because there's some relatively significant privacy concerns with that one in particular. But the one thing that I have not chased down is whether or not that was a competitor's analysis of it versus like a real genuine concern supported by some sort of event that had happened, like that compromised people's data, because I haven't been able to find or see anything about that with Manus. But I know that he was saying they're not allowed to use that one on any like workstations, and they're recommended to not be using it personally either.
Interesting. Will, do you have any insights, Mr. SaaS AI guy?
I don't really use, I only just really started using ChatGPT probably like every day, maybe like 3 weeks ago, honestly. I was really slow and late to the game because I was just like, I'll just Google stuff, you know? But now I'm just like, I'll just Google. Why would I do this? Now I'm just like, oh my God, it's so much faster. You know, pulls up so much more stuff. It's so cool. So I really only started this Gen AI journey just a few weeks ago myself.
Well, and I'll say too that I pinged you guys about this, or you should have an email from me, and then Evan, I texted you about it. I think with Perplexity, we can actually have collaborative threads wherein I can prompt something to start it and then invite people to join it, and then multiple people can prompt the same one, which is kind of a cool little feature, especially if you do something that is, you know, like some sort of business consultant that like everybody from a company gets to talk to and ask questions to, and it can be trained on your specific model and all that sort of stuff. And then one of the things Evan and I have been talking about too was, you know, I'm very curious about when we can deploy these individual agents to work with each other. So like when mine and Evan's can talk to each other and brainstorm, and then can be given a joint task, and then knowing what Evan's knows and knowing what mine knows about all the stuff I've said and he's said, come to some sort of joint conclusion here. And according to ChatGPT itself, that is a very in-demand feature that is estimated in the next 6 to 12 months. But there's a workaround where you can actually deploy two, so that we're talking about cross-account communication, thread communication.
Yeah.
Because right now, like I can create a thread and I can send it to Evan and he can like read it, but he can't do anything with it. And it doesn't know anything about his. So like I would want mine to be able to talk to Evan's. And you can actually do a workaround there with Notion where you can squish the two together. You can sign both of your threads in together and communicate through a Notion integration. And then you can manage it joint together from the Notion account, like as a company, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, we were talking about that. And Alex and I, you know, we usually curmudgeon and complain a little bit every day, and we haven't subjected Will to it yet, but beware, Will, it's probably coming. One of the things we cannot wait for is that day, which is probably coming very soon, when my agent can talk to your agent, and again, they can actually do stuff together and just come to us to say like, hey guys, this is what we're working on. Cool, can we go ahead? Approval? Yep, good. Keep working. See you later. You know, and then we'll just hang out on the show more, and they'll do everything else, I hope. But Alex,
wonderful.
I know you got to go soon.
It'd be a very cheap administrative assistant.
So tell us, before you get your dogs and ponies on the road, my friend, do you got a final thought, a question, suggestion, good joke, word of wisdom for the audience? Or conversely, my friends who are listening, if you've got a final thought for Alex, now's the time. Let's hear it. What you got, Al?
The only thing that I'm working on a couple things this week that I'm excited to share about. We've got a handful of PDFs and whatnot that I'm working on finishing up. But one of the big ones that we've had a lot of questions about has been getting stable coins from other fiat currencies if you want to have exposure to something else. Like in this case specifically, we've had people asking about getting stable euros. So I want to do some features on the show this week about those for sure. And then of course the other one I just want to highlight again, because I have yet to see anyone else even remarking that this has happened. So I'm a huge fan of RWA. It's one of my favorite niches in the whole space. I just think it's super cool. It makes so much sense. If you're using a token to make something more secure, we have all sorts of things that are important and valuable and worthwhile in our everyday lives that could be enhanced from a security perspective using a token to market or to whatever, right? And Swarm has taken it to the next level by getting a federal government's legal recognition of the validity of a contract between the token and the item in real life. And that is one of the biggest hurdles that we've seen when it comes to RWA adoption on a large scale, is the fact that anybody can mint a token right now and say, this is the token that represents this pair of shoes I just bought. But no one official cares. And if any of it ever went to court, there's no precedent and there's no framework to base that on. And so I'm just annoyed by the fact that this isn't getting any coverage, because what Swarm has done here is redo the gold, the serialized gold bars or ingots or whatever the terms are, tied to a token, and there's actually a legal framework now to officially recognize that relationship. So your token actually, in the eyes of the government, is recognized as a valid proof of ownership of this thing, wherein specific kinds of purchase documents and authenticity certificates and stuff like that had been required before. Like it's married now, which is just really cool. And this is like the first little step. It seems little and it might seem innocuous, but like, this is how it starts. Someone's got to do the first one. And then other governments are going to be like, okay, well, we don't want all of this business to go over there. I don't want all the gold tokenization business to go to Germany. So we should do something too. And then it starts like that. And then it snowballs to other things. And that's how it works. And so I'm very excited about it. And I would like to do some more features on it this week, because I've never owned gold. Full disclosure, never bought it in my life. Kind of would like to own some, but I always just found it to be super impractical. And, ever since I got into the more investors mindset, it was just like, why wouldn't I just do Bitcoin? But if I can do tokenized gold and I can store it on cold storage, then hell yeah, I want to get some. So I'm looking at doing that. I'm not sure what the requirements are to participate. I don't know, how robust it is and all that kind of stuff, but I definitely want to text Katie and get her back. And then I will have some more information for you guys coming this week about it, because I'm very excited about it.
Very cool. Solon says we got to get him on the show. And before you go, Alex, I did want to share this comment with you from Palmer over on YouTube. Says, Alex is the 5th most popular Alex Popovic according to Perplexity. That's pretty good considering it's searching the world. And I said, do Evan Mann next. And he said, Evan Mann, number 7. Oh, so Alex, you're more famous in your category than me. Considering Popovic is a globally pretty common name, I would have to say you are not doing too shabby.
I'm definitely much further down that. William's pretty common. Watson, also pretty common.
Will's not even the 5th most popular Will Watson in his family, let alone all of the Will Watsons. Don't come for me.
This is true. There have been a lot of Will Watsons.
Hell, he's got 6 or 7 of them in his immediate family anyway.
No, there's only 3.
The fact that there's more than one.
There's 3, including myself, and then there are 2 others where William is their middle name, with Watson then being the last name. So very different.
So for those keeping score at home, that's 5 William Watsons.
It is 5 William Watson, but 2 of them have middle names. Okay, fine. Don't worry about it.
The fact that we're even having this conversation is my favorite thing about today so far.
Actually, it's 4. I did the math. Yeah, I was creating an imaginary brother.
Created an imaginary Will Watson.
An imaginary Will. At this point, I just imagine there's a plethora.
I hope they're not inflationary.
Solemn asks, is that to hide income?
Is that to hide income?
Yes, it is an elaborate tax scheme for anyone.
No, but it was a scheme to spend less money at the local gym membership at the YMCA. We just put our name down as William Watson and went in at different times.
God, that's
oh my God, brilliant.
Yeah, it saves like $20 a month per person.
Costco gym memberships. I mean, you guys are set.
No,
however, when we fly, when we have flown together as a family, this was before apps and stuff, and you got like the paper tickets at the kiosk person was always just like, well, I have like only 2 tickets for William Watson. We're like, we bought 5 tickets, or we bought 4 tickets. Our names are all there. And she's like, you're all William Watson? She's like, yeah, our system just blew up. We only have 2 tickets here for you. We're like, no, here's the credit card confirmation. Like, we have 5 tickets. Give it to us, please. And they're like, I need my manager. I've never seen this before.
That's wild. Well, Alex, I know you got to go. Thank you for another great show. We'll see you back tomorrow and in the Discord in the meantime, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. I will be around and back to normal for the rest of the week. Just, I got a dishwasher delivered during the stream, so now I have to go try desperately to get it hooked up, because I refuse to wash the mountain of dishes in my sink by hand. All right. So,
well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. We'll see you soon.
Have fun.
See you guys
And if
soon.
you want to catch up with Alex when the show is offline, the best way to do it is to visit the riseupmorningshow.com or just do a Google search for the Rise Up Morning Show. We are, in fact, the #1 Rise Up Morning Show in search results. If you have trouble finding us on your search engine or your GPT, just let them know we're a crypto show. Or just remember the riseupmorningshow.com. When you get there, you can find all of our social links, including the link to YouTube, where replays for the Rise Up Morning Show and Rise Up After Dark live, plus other cool content, your favorite podcasting platforms that host our show, and you can find the official, always free to join Rise Up Discord server. It's a global community with learners at all levels of experience. The only thing missing is you. You can get the link one more time at the riseupmorningshow.com or skip the line discord.gg/riseup. So, Will, according to Palmer, you did not make the list,
Saw
but
that.
Coin Guide is #2 on the search. So
And #1 is
Bullish.
probably a robot of mine that has way more likes, views, and videos.
But does he have 1 million likes? Does he really? Are they real likes?
I don't know, but they're definitely not, because like a new one will get spun up and it'll say it has like 300,000 views or something, or like, followers or something like that. I go and I just block them. I block them immediately.
Gotta
It's a
block
fun game.
them.
It's whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
But I want to provide an update for folks, because this is a very important week. So from a macro news standpoint, Wednesday is the biggest day. So we're getting on Wednesday. We are getting. Oh, excuse me. I had too much coffee today, and now I'm like overdosed on caffeine. My body's like shutting down.
Shutting down? Oh, God.
Yeah.
In real time.
I know. But on a Wednesday, we get ADP payrolls information. So like how much money are people getting in the United States? That's not the most important. We do get Q1 GDP numbers on Wednesday. That is very important.
Bigly important.
Followed by core PCE inflation data. Very important for Jerome Powell and the Fed as well. Also on Wednesday, we're getting earnings reports from Microsoft and Meta, Facebook. So, that's really going to shape a lot of what happens in the stock market. And then Thursday, not too important, your weekly job claims data. We get some manufacturing data, which is important, but not the most. But also on Thursday, we get earnings reports for Apple and Amazon. So this Wednesday and Thursday are going to like shape the stock market. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Bitcoin and the stocks being decoupled. But if you look at the past like 11 days, they've been pretty coupled again. There's not enough data to say that Bitcoin's decoupled from the stock market yet. So we're still in the mindset that if the stock market does something positive or negative, you should expect something positive or negative for Bitcoin. There you go. So Wednesday, Thursday, big days.
I've also seen that we're getting PayPal, Robinhood, and I am paying more attention to companies like that just as our stablecoin legislation keeps chugging along, just as their CEOs keep doing the podcast circuit. I think that they are going to play a bigger and bigger role in the future of the cryptocurrency space.
They should.
They definitely should. If you work at Robinhood and you are seriously, thinking about jumping ship, if you're the guy at Robinhood who's like, these stablecoins aren't such a big deal, forget about it, we don't need to get... No, man, no. This
No,
is the
man.
future. No, man.
No, man.
Just some guy with a fake radio show telling you what's up. Will, something I wanted to ask you to do, if you're game for it, is to maybe pull up a little CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko trading view. Robert in the comments and several others have noted that we are seeing a lot of green today, generally speaking. And I've seen a number of tokens thrown out. I think I messaged you about SWI in particular. But what you're seeing across the markets, what is your general sentiment for how this may continue or how it might decline going into the week? And I'd especially like to talk to those people like Robert who are saying, I'm in the green. What should I do next? I know you got a lot of thoughts about it in your daily update videos where people should go for the up to the moment information, but bring it live for me and maybe let me do a little screen share of you so I can see what you're looking at and we can teach people how to think one way or another about this kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So screen share.
Screen share.
Screen share. Entire screen. Share.
And I will do my best to describe it for everybody who's listening in audio land. We're looking at TradingView.
Yeah, we're looking at
looking
trading
at
view, and I'm just gonna
colors.
simplify this a little bit. Let me just do this. Let me just clean this up a little bit. There we go. This looks a little bit better. Focus in over here on this ascending wedge, right? Just
Right.
zoom out a tiny bit. There you go. I just want to get that whole thing there. So this is Bitcoin on the daily time frame. And what I think is going to happen is I think we get a little bit more juice to the upside, right? A little bit more juice. Typically what happens at the end. Oh, I thought someone said wizard hat. God said whiz up. I thought anyway. This does kind of look like a wizard hat that's slightly tilted. But I think we get a little bit more juice to the upside. I'll explain why I think that. And then after we get that little bit of juice upwards, it seems like a correction is likely to come. I mean, particularly like you look at this price action we've had, and this is a very simple way of looking at it, but it's a good rule of thumb. So we have had, let's see, 21 days of upside action of a rally for Bitcoin. That's a lot of time for Bitcoin to just kind of go up without having really a sizable correction. If we're also looking at this bottom area here, Evan, if you move to the left a tiny bit, yeah.
I'm trying to come
There you
at the
go.
whole
Like
thing.
this whole bottom area, you know, like we can see that price is rounding over here, but you know, we don't have like another higher low here to kind of confirm this. So we would love to see price come down actually. And from like a macro standpoint, confirm this rounding over that we see here to tell us that, yeah, price, you know, bulls are coming in at a higher low. You know, let's confirm a higher low support and move higher. We'd love to see that happen, but I'm not quite, you know, we just haven't seen it. It's not confirmed. So talking about short-term price action here, this wedge, this rising triangle, ascending wedges break 60 to 70% of the time to the bear side. An ascending wedge is a bearish pattern. When one is this vertical, it almost always breaks to the bear side because it's just it's an unsustainable rally, right? That's one way to look at it when you see an ascending wedge to this degree. And another thing that we've also been talking about is Elliott wave theory. We've been practicing more of that. Elliott wave theory states that price moves in waves of 5. So I won't go through the whole thing because it makes this thing real messy, but you know, this is your wave 1, that's your wave 2, that's your wave 3. We just finished our corrective wave 4, and now we're going to have a wave 5 do, you know, something in this range. A fifth wave always ends up being at least a little bit taller than your wave 3. Sometimes it overextends, you know, so maybe we get something that looks like this. Maybe we hit the top of this channel one more time. And because this is an ascending wedge, we should think that there should be a correction. And also, if Elliott wave theory is correct, what happens after your fifth wave is you have some type of, you know, ABC correction. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but, you know, that's typically how it looks. So if we're just looking from a technical analysis standpoint, that's something like that is what we should expect for Bitcoin. And now Bitcoin and the stock market have been very tied to one another. So if I hop over to the stock market, and this is the stock market on the daily time frame, we can see, and let me get my little brush here. You can see that there is a gap right here on the daily time frame, that this bullish gap, and we're going to probably come up to the 200-day exponential moving average, this orange line. That's a very, very stiff area of resistance. There's also another gap there on the 4-hour time frame. So we go up. We will probably hit this. If we do that today when the market opens up in about 15 minutes, or we do it tomorrow, there's also a bearish gap right here, right? So we would expect price to start to head down to fill this gap. And there's also another gap right here on the 4-hour time frame. We would expect price to probably come down and fill this as well. Then the question becomes, do we set a higher low? Do we set a double bottom here, or does price break lower, right? We don't know the answer to that, but that's what we're keeping our eyes on. So the question that Evan asked me was, what and why am I expecting certain things to happen on the chart? I expect Bitcoin and the stock market to essentially recouple again to the bear side. Will that be lower lows or a higher low? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. On the macro side of things, I can make a guess based on Elliott wave, but we need to wait for confirmation that a lower low could be possible. But again, I don't know. What I do think I know in the short term is we have short-term momentum to the bull side for the stock market. We have short-term momentum to the bull side for Bitcoin, and then both of them are going to hit resistance again at just about the same time. Makes sense for them to both correct at the same time then as well. So that's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking it. Those are the tea leaves that I see and that I'm reading. And again, TA, I'll put a bow on this. TA helps give you an educated guess as to what's going to happen. It is not some oracle of truth, right? But it helps you to kind of see how price is moving and what could be likely to happen next. And so that's what I'm seeing on the charts.
Beautifully said. And I will let you know that if you want to learn technical analysis with Will, I couldn't recommend a better resource than his TA class recording. It's called Intro to TA, Technical Analysis. And you can get it at theriseupmorningshow.com. We got a little tab there that opens up a menu that will take you to classes and digital downloads. It's right there. $49.99. If you want a discount, you can become a premium member. You get that and so much more. You can try it free for 7 days, and then if you don't like it, you can cancel, but you'll definitely love that class. If you're somebody who wants to understand how it is that Will goes about applying these concepts, like his ascending wedge, like his Elliott wave theory, or even if you just want to learn to use TradingView so you can draw a smiley face on the charts for the vibes, like me, then that's the place for you. And I got to tell you, too, I'm very excited to announce that I have got the official USDC to $2 shirt live on the site. So if you go to our site, we're selling just a limited quantity of these. I think we're going to do 25 to keep it like extra rare. The premium members have already had the link. They got a head start, but if you want one, then you can go to Rise Up merch at our homepage, theriseupmorningshow.com. Click this little buy now button and boom. You pick your size. You can pick your color. I gave people the option. You can get it in white with black text. Look at that. Super clean. Pick your size. And once you get to the checkout, if you're a premium or premium plus member, you can use your discount code to save a little money for the meme coins or for your DCA days. We would love for you to get a shirt, take a picture of it, and let everybody know that just like Alex, you are bullish on stablecoins.
I will absolutely die on this hill.
It's kind of funny because that the female model, the woman there, looks like my best friend's ex-girlfriend.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was like,
I wonder if it is. Did she ever do any t-shirt modeling?
No, she's too lazy.
Oh, she's
way too lazy. Way too lazy to actually get a job.
Oh no! Oh no! It's painful.
Then again, so too is my best friend. So there were some things that made sense.
I see. If you are looking for a t-shirt, if you're looking for answer to your crypto question, if you are just looking to hang out and vibe, you're in the right place. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. We've got a couple minutes left, and we would love to answer your question before we ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset. So leave it in the comments. If you're listening in the future, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments on YouTube, on Apple. And while you're there, please do us a favor and leave us a review. Like us, really like us. It's one of the best free ways that you can really help the show. The bigger our profile is, the better we can get guests that you care about, the more we can get attention from sponsors who can elevate the show and give value back to you, our audience, the very best part of what we do. And we've got a big week coming up. We've got Sinjin Young, who now his name is escaping me, where he's coming from. Alex was talking to him earlier last week. He's a dev, and God, I look like a terribly unprepared radio host. He's a developer. He's building cool stuff. And the name of the protocol will surprise you that I've forgotten it.
And it's cool. Anyway.
And it's cool. And we've got our friend Nikki Scanella from Marinade coming back Wednesday for Rise Up After Dark. So we've got a couple of cool guests coming this week. We got some more cool guests coming next week. And then we're going to be at Consensus in Toronto. Alex is in the comments. He's going to save me from myself. Who does Sinjin work for? Oh, man. Somebody thank you. Thank you. Leftover Eggs, very kind, said, my favorite unprepared radio host.
You are our favorite.
Thank you. We got a couple questions coming in, and I think we could tackle them together before we ride our dogs and ponies out. So Lori wants to know, any chances for the bull run for altcoins? What do you think, Will? There's a lot to unpack there.
Well, you've been seeing a lot of altcoins pop off and do great. Sui did phenomenally. Virtuals has popped off. Pendle had a good solid run. There have been a bunch. I'm still waiting for Aptos to really, really, really pop off in my Aptos trade. But the thing is right now is exactly the same as the type of price action that we've seen in altcoins for the past year and a half or so, which is you don't see every altcoin do well. You only see specific ones actually kind of pop off, and the rest are just kind of, a little bump up, but really just kind of still. For the most part, Bitcoin dominance has been annoyingly resilient. I'm still watching it to be like, come on, Bitcoin dominance, just give me like a percentage point. Come on, Bitcoin dominance. Right now would be great, but you have to be very selective with which ones that you invest in right now. Not everything is going to pop. This is not the bull run of 2020 because a lot of liquidity is locked up in the Bitcoin ETF. Because liquidity used to go from Bitcoin and easily flow into altcoins, but because of the ETF, it doesn't do that very easily. And that's where a lot of the buying for Bitcoin is happening right now. So there's not a lot of liquidity flow from the biggest pool of liquidity, Bitcoin, to be able to flow into all the altcoins. And that's why you've had to be way more selective. You have to find coins with good adoption, but also with like a lot of mind share on social media that can drive up the price. So XRP has a lot of mindshare. Cardano has a lot of mindshare. Sui has a lot of mindshare. Virtuals protocol has a decent amount of mindshare for a mid cap. Render's done great. Render has a lot of mindshare. In this cycle, we have seen a big step away from don't invest in dinosaur coins because they're old and have a lot of salty bag holders to that argument, while still valid, is less so because the most important thing is mindshare. Because people are only going to invest in the things that they've heard about and know about, because there's only so much liquidity to go into things that after they go into those big and mid caps, there's only so much that's left to go into the small guys. Yeah. So you got to be really safe. I think it's another reason why like having an altcoin bag of like 30 or 40 or 50 or even 20 coins doesn't really make a lot of sense because most of those guys aren't really going to do great unless you're like, and even then, even if they do great, you can't time those. Right. You're spread too thin. You don't have the bandwidth for that. Yeah. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, I just want to piggyback on it to say yes and double down on that. The crypto market cap is approaching its previous all-time high of 3 trillion, but the liquidity that's here has not gone equally into every altcoin. There are more tokens than ever. It used to be there were just 100 altcoins. Then there were just 10,000. Now there are literally millions of altcoins and meme coins, more created every day, all the time. And so this idea that like all of the coins, the tokens everywhere are going to experience some sort of meteoric rise up, it's just not feasible. The truth is most of that liquidity is going to Bitcoin. Some of it's in ETF products, so it's not going to move over into Fartcoin or Popcat or something like that.
Yeah, because in order to do that, you have to sell your share. Then you have your cash that settles after a few days in your Fidelity or BlackRock account. And then you have to take a few days to send that out to your bank account. Then you have to take that and you have to put it onto your Coinbase or your Kraken account, and then you can buy altcoins, right? Yeah. And also the people who are buying through the ETFs, they weren't using Coinbase before. They're just like, I don't care about that. I can do this here, and I just care about this Bitcoin thing. So it's just not going to happen.
Well, and that's why we're so bullish on exchange listings, is because those people who are bringing new money into crypto, like truly on chain, those are the front doors. They are going to trade the tokens that are easiest. They're probably not going to find out how to get even a MetaMask wallet, how to install a new custom network, how to get the gas token for that network, swap back and forth to another token. You know what I mean? Like there are so many friction steps between the people who are coming to crypto through something like Bitcoin, through something like an ETF, and buying Harry Potter, Sonic, Obama, Inu, even if everybody's talking about it on crypto Twitter. So mindshare is an important metric, but then you've got to ask, how easy is it for people who are paying attention to this thing to get it? Do you remember, Will, did you have like a first on-chain experience where you heard about a token and you wanted to buy it and you weren't, like, for the most part now I'm like set up. Pretty much anything I hear about is pretty much easy for me to buy using a tool I already have in a couple of clicks. But do you remember like your first experience getting a new wallet just for one token or moving some money around? Mine was actually with, do you remember SafeMoon?
Yeah, of course I do.
Back in the day, Ponzi
scheme, by the way, everyone.
Total Ponzi scheme. Absolute total Ponzi scheme. Wouldn't touch it today. But then I knew nothing. And I was interested in doing more stuff on chain. And I was like, well, here's the opportunity I can have to do it. I think it was on Binance Smart Chain. And I had a Binance wallet, but I'm pretty sure that was my first time using PancakeSwap, was to get some SafeMoon. I heard about it actually early and went through the process of making sure that my BNB was on the right network from Binance Smart Chain. I had to move it over to the BNB network. I had to do that on PancakeSwap. I was using a trust wallet, connecting it to a decentralized exchange for the first time, and completing the process of swapping tokens. I had to find the contract address, paste it in. I'd never seen that screen that was like, are you sure you want to trade with this contract? It seems new, seems small. And I was like, okay, hope it's the right one. I went to do the transaction and it failed. So I was like, why is my transaction failing? I had to learn about slippage. I had no idea what that was. And it was frankly difficult. Obviously, now it would be easy, but could you imagine somebody who is not even like as internet native as me, who didn't have friends who are moving around in crypto? Like, who are they going to ask? Do you have an experience like that you remember?
I can't remember the first one. I remember in the 2017 bull run, because there were no laws and no one was paying attention, I could just go and like set up an account on like a Chinese crypto exchange and do crypto exchange stuff in China. I just had to like provide my driver's license. So like my identity has totally been stolen by the Communist Party of China. But, you know, c'est la vie. I definitely made some bad security decisions. And then after the 2017 bull run, heading into the 2021, I don't remember what the first, honestly, like hot wallet kind of experience swap. Let me use the first decentralized exchange I ever used was Uniswap. And this was 2019 or 2020. It was like right when Uniswap first made. It was maybe like 6 or 9 months afterwards. I remember just like hearing about it from YouTubers I was listening to and hopping on. And I was used to a regular exchange. And like I saw what Uniswap looked like. And like I didn't know how to use it. I was like clicking around. I was like, how do I do this? And then I was just like, fuck this. I'm not using this. I don't know how to do this. And I didn't use like any decentralized exchange for like a year afterwards. So I was like, these decentralized exchanges are annoying. I don't know how to use this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Could have probably still looked at, I even looked up YouTube videos. I was like, how do I use Uniswap? And it still didn't make sense to me. And so I don't remember what was the first, one. I can remember plenty of times of even just sending Bitcoin from an exchange to my hardware wallet and just like white knuckling for like an hour, just hoping that it worked as I wait for, I remember those moments. And I still get like real anxious when I send stuff on chain, even though I've done it hundreds to thousands of times now at this point.
Oh yeah. Anytime I use a new protocol for the first time, even with like a little test transaction, even sometimes after I've sent one, I'm like, if it's a significant amount of money or a big, it's Alex sent me a test transaction the other day to a new wallet, and he sent me like $1, and I was like, why isn't this showing up? You know what I mean? I was no big deal, but I was nervous. Yeah. It's a big responsibility to be your own custodian.
Yeah, it is. But
good comments coming in about everyone's experience too.
One. Yeah.
So let us know yours if you're listening in the future. We got Apple was using Soulflare to buy Poo coins. We've got people talking about OMG SafeMoon. I remember Safe Everything. And by way of final thought, let's do this because it's almost time to ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset. My final thought, I'm going to answer this question from Carol, who asked, Evan, what are a couple tools that easily let you locate and buy any new crypto token? And the answer is the first and most important thing is you need to understand how to verify the contract address. We're doing a series on my channel right now called Learn to Use Crypto. It's got about 11 parts. You can watch the whole thing in 20 minutes, and it'll help you to identify the skills you need to understand, first of all, how tokens work, how blockchains work. But what you're looking for is something called a smart contract address. Smart contracts are like the pieces of computer code that give life to your tokens. If you have a token, its smart contract exists. It is, we say, deployed. And so to get a token, what you need to know is the address of the code that controls the token. Most of the time, you're going to get this from the project's website. Like if it's a established major protocol like, I don't know, artificial superintelligence or XRP or SUI, you're going to go to their official website. Just start with Google, but then verify Double check what you find on Google with what you find on Twitter or LinkedIn or somewhere else across the internet. And once you get there, you're going to look for a section called documentation. And usually these projects are going to have their contract addresses listed clearly for you in their website. Another place to triangulate this to make sure you get the correct information is CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. Especially if you're searching for a major token, Bitcoin and altcoin, something like that, you will find its address on many different networks, on CoinMarketCap and on CoinGecko totally for free just by searching the token and scrolling down to a section marked contract address. Usually you can copy this and you can paste it into whatever exchange you wish to use to acquire the token. Often you have to use a decentralized exchange like Uniswap, Will was talking about, or like PancakeSwap, like I was talking about. Every major network will have one or more decentralized exchanges where you can paste a contract address and find the token. If you try to paste a contract address for a token on the Ethereum network into an exchange on the Binance network, it'll say, this doesn't exist, or it's a bad format, or something like that. And if I've already lost you with all the buzzwords, then go back to that playlist, learn to use crypto, it's in my profile, and jump into the Rise Up Discord server because we can walk you through all these steps, step by step by step. I've even got a video showing you how to look up any smart contract that's like the last one back on my profile. So lots of good resources. Don't be in a rush. If you got to move quickly, if you got to get it before it's too late, then that's probably not the right token for you. There's plenty of time to learn this stuff, my friend. Will, what about you? Final thoughts? Questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to address Palmer McCoy's question over on YouTube because he's been there patiently waiting. Is there a benefit to Bitcoin decoupling? Isn't it somewhat beneficial as like an indicator, right? And yeah, it's beneficial as an indicator, but the reason why we would want to see Bitcoin decouple from the stock market, what we mean by that, if that's a new term, it's just like Bitcoin's price doesn't copy the stock market anymore, right? The reason why we want to see Bitcoin decouple from the stock market is because the whole narrative with Bitcoin is it being a store of value. But if it doesn't behave like a store of value, if it behaves like a speculative stock, then it hasn't really attained that, right? It hasn't really proven to the world that it's a store of value. And when it proves to the world that it's a store of value, it will end up hitting a larger market cap than if it remains in this category as a speculative asset, right? That's why we want it to decouple. It will increase the total size of the market cap.
Beautifully concise. Anything else to add before we take our show on the road?
I'll be hosting office hours today from 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you are in the Discord, also I have to go through my DMs. I know there are some people who have had issues with the link on my profile page. I got to get the link to you. I'll try to do that today so you can get into the Discord for free. Anyone can get into the Discord for free, by the way. But the office hours, I'll be hosting it for an hour. If you are a premium or premium plus member, you can hop in and chat with me and ask questions. If you are not, you can hop in and listen. But I'll be in there for an hour from 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So hop on in.
Cool. We'll post an announcement about that so you can see what time that is in your local time zone. And I cannot wait. If you want to try it out, get a premium membership trial at theriseupmorningshow.com. And don't forget the USDC to $2 shirts are live. We're going to have a limited quantity, and I cannot wait to see. I know it will be just like the morning show mug. It'll make you look better, make your coffee taste better, and make your USDC feel just a little heavier in your pockets. So, my friends, thank you so much for being the best part of what we do. We'll see you back here at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow for another episode of the Rise Up Morning Show. Until then, everybody, stay safe, be well,